And now we are back. Normally, I try to design everything, particularly bedrooms, off of a vertical system. A lot of people will build rather large horizontally. But for instance, let's say I want to get to this room. The only way to get to this room is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 7, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33 to get to that stairwell. Up above, I did the same thing. So if I want to go to this one or the one below, it's 33 either way. If I put them on the same Z level, the sheer space would have pushed some of them out to 44, 54. You get what I'm saying? So if you think about it, one Z level difference can save you 20 plus squares of dwarven movement, which reduces, one, the amount of calculations they have to do, and two, it means they get there faster. If they get to where they're trying to go, there's a lot less calculations because they're already there. You want them to get there so they stop effing calculating. In my normal Dwarf Fortress designs, I use the up-down stair system to get to bedrooms. There's one hallway that splits off at like 1 square total, and each one has an up-down stair. There's a bed up and a bed below. By having them go one extra step to go to this central hallway and using that to then go one back up and down, you save so much in sheer volume. And then if you think about it, you don't really have the hallways necessarily between the bedrooms. You can cram them closer. So you're able to get a lot more bedrooms and a lot tighter space. And because it is so tight, there's a lot less calculations. So in terms of pathfinding, I would say keep track of verticality. A lot of people tend to just build mostly horizontal. In this case, I did so because I needed the triangles. Also, there's an aquifer. Aquifers are annoying. I have made this such a pain for myself. So for this, I've done it a lot less than I normally do, but I tend to try to build vertical systems rather than purely horizontal systems. As in the end, this saves you a lot of space. If you do it Hive style, Resident Evil Hive style, think about it. If I do one base that's 20 Z levels deep and each Z level I go out 30 squares, that means at most to get from one end to the other of my base is, what'd I say, 30, 20, 30, right? That's at most 80 squares of travel. Really, how long is 80 squares of travel if you do it horizontally though? If I wanted to, let's say this was open, go from left to right here, just from one to the other, 80 is only here. Just to get from one corner to the other on this, I would be going about 109. So 20 Z levels, and you make everything 30, you've greatly reduced the amount of travel any dwarf has to get to any one thing. And it's an often overlooked fact because you want everything to look nice and you can only see everything in horizontal slices. So everyone tends to just build everything in horizontal slices. And I'm not saying that I don't either. Even my circular designs, I tend to only go 6 or 7 Z levels deep at most. But the most efficient probably admittedly looks the ugliest and takes the longest on you because you have to keep hitting down Z levels to go up and down to everything. But in terms of calculations, it would be the easiest. It would be the shortest and nicest for your game. Counter to that point, the big counter to that is not having rather large horizontal meeting areas. At the very least, if you only have one. If you look at these meeting areas, I actually lose. I want you to look. This guy's a question mark, but look for that green mark. You're looking for question marks and green marks. And every question mark and or green mark you see is an extra step of calculation I have to do. A question mark is they don't know what they're doing. So they have to refigure out what the hell they're doing. This usually happens particularly with animals if they bumped into someone or something. The blinking green line means you have two creatures or entities on the same square as each other. In this case, it is a dog and a puppy. So dwarves don't necessarily have this, but they'll have this in hallways. If a dwarf is going down a one wide hallway and a dwarf is coming up the one wide hallway, they have to stop. They can't figure out how to get past each other. Then together they agree that they can just, if they switched, they'd be fine. So they do, but they have to stop, calculate, something's in my way. Is there a path around, i.e. a 2 wide hallway? They would say yes, and one of them would go diagonally. But they can't in this case. So they stop, you ended the calculation. They say, okay, something's in front of me. Can I go around? No, that's another step they just wasted. Is the person in front of me capable of switching with me? Yes, but this was another calculation. Then they switch. This takes a calculation. Even though they're not calculating, you have to lose a rotation as they cycle. All right, now we're on 4 or 5. Then they realize now I'm where I want to be. Where did I want to go again? Oh yes, 6 or 7 at this point. I've lost count. Then they start their very way. So every time you have this an interaction between units, you lose a lot of cycles of calculation. So if you have a small area, meeting area, particularly like what's going on with these stupid dogs and pigs, you lose a bunch of calculations as they bump into each other. You lose a lot less than what would have happened with that one wide hallway. You lose like 4, because like, okay, I'm here, I'm going there. He's there, I'm going there. Oh, we bumped into each other. Is there a way for me to go around? Yes. Which one of us should go around? He should. So someone's in front of me, stop. 1. Can I go around? Yes, but it's a calculation. Which one of us should go around? That's the 3rd calculation. Then the guy goes, I will move. He moves. That's your 4th calculation. And then they're both able to go on their merry way. 5. Then they have to calculate where they're going. You're still back up to like 5 or 6. The more that they bump into each other, the more annoying it is. So if you do a vertical system, you're stuck with the idea of the stairwell system of they're likely to be trying to do this across on the same stairwell. So you're going to have issues either way. You have to find some nice mix between verticality and horizontality. If you could find a vertical system and somehow make the dwarves and or animals never bump into each other on those stairs, you're golden. You are perfectly golden. But you're not likely to be able to pull that off. But even then, all this can just be mostly ignored if you just had less dwarves. Like what I'm talking about, like measures of 6 or 7, that's nothing. It's when you have 120 dwarves that are each doing 6 or 7 calculations every second to figure out how to get past each other in the hallway. That's where you get your lag. That is where you get your lag. So if you artificially limit your dwarves to 60, you're never going to hit that. You're never going to hit that issue. You only need the last prerequisite number in the game is 120 dwarves. You need 120 dwarves for the king to come to your little area. That's if you even want the king. A lot of people don't want the king because the king comes with them dukes, counts, and barons. I think I got them all right. Dukes, counts, and barons. So a lot of people don't even want that. So there's no real reason to have that many dwarves. I think a good comfortable number would be around where I am here, 60. You have enough dwarves to get shit done, enough dwarves to maybe replace them afterwards if bad shit were to happen, but few enough dwarves to not be having major amounts of calculation. The only reason to have excess dwarves is to have a military that you equip and you send them out into the world. If they're not in your map, you're not doing calculations, so it doesn't harm you any. And when they're on your base, they're less likely to be doing things other than training. If they're training in the barracks, they're not in anyone's way anyways. That's really the big use for excess amounts of dwarves, is just military. Now to chat, because I ignored you for a while. I do apologize. Someone mostly keep derps from derping to death. I will address that in a second. Have you completed the Triforce and defeated Ganon yet? I have not. 2 wide ramps. You still have calculations. PSA, Alpha Node still sucks. Yes, Alpha Node does still suck. At some point, I do need to do some more Final Fantasy 14 streams. Oh, by the way, yeah, good news, celebratory news, but really, if someone asked for it back, I would give it back. What I said was going to happen did happen. For those of you who watched the Final Fantasy 14 streams, because I played so often, and I kept going to the guild house, no one in the guild was getting the email saying, hey, if you don't go back to the guild house, you're going to lose the guild house. So because no one was getting the email, the other people didn't remember to keep logging back on. Once the guild master hasn't logged on for 40 days, Final Fantasy 14 gives control of the guild to someone else, and they have different math involved, but really the number one thing is if there's only one person who keeps logging back on, it gives it to them. So I'm now the guild master of that entire guild. I have full access to all the banks, all the fucking nice house, everything. Like I said, if the guild dude contacted me and was like, hey, I'd like it back, I would give it back. I'm not a dick, but I would like to point out that I said it could be done. I said I was on path for it to be done, and it is now done. I am now the guild master of the Lala's Guild. I am, in fact, the Chief Tato, because that's what the guild master position was called, was Chief Tato. Not much for me to do with it. Like I said, I wasn't really that interested in. I'm not trying to be, now I shall rule. But I just thought it was a thing to point out. Alphino does still suck. 3 wide hallways. No, you only really need 2. 3 wide is a bit much unless there is a way to use it, but 3 wide generally causes excess calculations. If you have a 2 wide hallway, the dwarf will choose the path of least resistance. So they're generally either going to be on the right or the left. And every square they're updating left or right, left or right, left or right. But they don't necessarily just calculate what's next to them. The further away something is, the more they have to calculate. So if you have a 3 wide square, oddly enough, it takes 50% more calculations, because past a step or 2, they have to go, do I want to start going left? So they'll calculate out 3 squares. It'll be like right, middle, or left, right, middle, or left, right, middle, left, right, middle, or left. However, if you were to do a 3 wide square and do the orders command, which I always get this backwards. Build orders. No, the orders. There we go. Do the traffic area, and you have a 3 wide area. High traffic areas set it as only 1 calculations. So you do the left and right as high calculations, and do the one in the middle as low calculations. There is now enough of a difference that when it calculates out by this point and it goes, hey, what do I want? I'm here. It goes 1 square, 5 squares. I have to go through a 5 square anyways. It won't be calculating. It won't constantly be updating, and they'll stay on the right or the left. This will occasionally make them bump into each other, but when they have to move, they can now step into the middle, which has been left empty to this point. So if you do a 3 wide hallway, you can make it work. You can even make that thing in the middle be restricted if you want. They'll figure it out to get past each other. I'm trying to make this back to normal. But if you're just doing hallways, you're not microing your traffic area restrictions, you only really need a 2. 3 could be better, but you have to micro a lot to make it work.
No, I can't.
The plower flows through. You still can't take it serious. You are a Lala among Hjor. Company with 2 wide ramps that lead off. 2 wide is usually good enough so they can go around. A company with 2 wide ramps that lead. Yep. I don't understand where. So he's the guild master of kids. Me? Yes. I am the guild master of the little Lalas, which means I am super serial. By the way, as a side thing, again, to go to my earlier conversation of even goofy fucking goals I tended to accomplish in the military, because I was in Japan when Final Fantasy 14 came out, that meant I got that shit in Japan, which meant from being within Japan and getting it and registering things, I was able to get in at like the front door. And for the original release of Final Fantasy 14, you, if you got the collector's edition, got to get a birth certificate for your character. So as long as you were fast enough so that no one else took your character name, you could get the character name, register the character name, now it's yours, and then get the birth certificate for your character name. So if anyone knows anything about Final Fantasy 14, 1, I'm Vivio Ornatier. Hi, I'm the jackass. I'm the jackass that took that name from you. If you were the person who tried to do that shit in America and for some reason that name was already taken, that was me. I'm that dick. I have a birth certificate to go with it and everything. And Dan, when they switched from 14 to A Realm Reborn, if you still had an account, you're in the credits. I didn't play much, but I still had the account, and I like occasionally did some things, so I'm in the credits. And Dan, just to be a jackass, I play him as a white mage now. After all of that, I'm not even a black mage. I got so bored in the beta for A Realm Reborn, constantly doing the white mage, the black mage start over and over and over again, that I just wanted to be in a different town. So I did a white mage, and that's my primary class now. So I play as Vivi as a white mage. I'm a white mage main. I'm a white mage main Vivi. Are you recruiting? What am I recruiting people for? Are you talking about the guild? I mean, if I were to honor the guild's thing, you would have to be a Lala. If you're not a Lala, then no. Our little guild tag is Lalas. It's only for Lalas. We have a hot tub. It's so tall that if you sit in it as a Lala, you drown. The water's above your head. It's real embarrassing. You're a GM. I know I'm a GM, but remember, I'm not doing it because I'm a dick. If the original GM calls back or plays, and he contacts me, he's like, hey, I really like the position back, I would give him the position back. You know what I'm saying? I don't play 14 enough consistently to actually run a guild. Though, to be fair, the fact that he didn't play it for like 40 days straight also says that he probably doesn't either. That's neither here nor there. If I let someone in who's not a Lala, and then he asks for it back, and I give him the guild, and you're not a Lala, he's gonna kick you out. And he's gonna be like, who is this person? He's not a Lala. It's clearly the only way to say this word, by the way. They're not Lalafels. They're not Lalas. They're Lalas. They're cute little Lalas. Would you like to teach D&D to someone who hates it and ignored everything about it? I mean, yeah, that's what I did in the military. I'm very good at teaching D&D. I'm so good at teaching D&D that the people how do I word this correctly? I'm so good at teaching D&D that the people that I taught D&D to, for the most part, one of them was Brookins, so you can't hold that against me. For the most part, understood it well enough to be able to intentionally make a broken character that be broken the way they wanted to. Which I'm not saying like, oh, I teach everyone to be evil, horrible, rule lawyering assholes. But what I'm saying is, though, they understood effectively how the rules worked, which meant they knew how to track down rules to do what they wanted with their character, as opposed to just being like, well, I wanted to do this, and this book said this, so I did this, and I kind of thought it might work. You know what I'm saying? If you can intentionally, repetitively make a broken character, you probably understand the rules of the game. I should say, make a broken character without looking it up. I've had that before. So it's like, yeah, no, I'm real good. And they would just look up the internet like, what's the best way to be ranger? Because here's the thing. You look up on the internet the best way to be a ranger, and I do some fucking weird, non-normal combats, you're going to get fucking annoyed. Because surely you need to be doing better. You did the thing that said you were the best at doing this. If you don't understand why the character worked that way, then you're not going to know how to adapt them to circumstances. Not my fault. Great person to play a bard. So here's the thing. We do need more people, but we need more people. We need stable. Okay, so a base number you would assume would be around 4, except for, to be told, the way D&D 5th edition seems to be set up, I think kind of slightly favors 5 or 6. Just kind of does. But let's go with the standard of 4, right? 4 people is a good standard. We only had 3. I think we kind of technically have 4, but we only had 3. Because the 4th person, I think at like the first meeting, was constantly busy with work. He is a player, but he's not really a player. So we did a couple of these with 3 people. But even at this point, you've already lost like your 1 extra that you can get away with. I have school. And one of those other 3 players, their work is starting to pick up. So that leaves like 1 player right now. You're not going to have a good group if the only reliable person you have is 1 player. That's why I don't DM, by the way. I love DMing. I'm a fantastic DM. If I do say so myself, and I do, because I'm fantastic. And I gave my permission to say it because I'm the DM. But my big weakness is I overplan events, combats, fights, and shit. Like, I'll tailor them to make them interesting. But I need to know who's playing for me to DM. Which means they would need to reliably be able to every week at the same exact time for the same amount of time be able to play. So that's why I don't DM, because it's the internet and you can never get that group of people to do it. TikTok's DM'd a lot, and he had a thing going which I thought was slightly ingenious. I don't know how he pulled off the stories, but he would have drop in, drop out players, where every time he DM'd, it would just be like first like 5 or 6 people that wanted to play, they got to play. And or if somebody was like really high level or played too much, like a lower level person, like, hey, would you mind like letting the new guy in? That was it. And he always had a difficult enough thing for a random group between levels 4 and 5. Again, I have no clue how he did that. That's like my one weakness as a DM, is I don't do well at adapting the story to the amount of players. Do well at adapting the story to the players, not the amount of players. But he's not doing that this time. I'm guessing because it's a different rule set. I don't know. He's not doing it this time. Or I don't know if he had something happen the last time he did it. I didn't pay attention too much. But we're at a position now where we essentially need like 3 or 4 people who could reliably, almost religiously do it at the same time every week. And that is such a pain to pull off on the internet. I'm not entirely sure when it would be able to resume and or in what state. And go Nama Hydra. Yo, I love that show. There's also a slight issue, and this is on everyone. I think this is on everyone except one of the players. We're all new. Like, my major area of expertise is 3.5. I know enough to effectively do Pathfinder, but I would never claim to know Pathfinder anywhere near as well as I know 3.5. We're talking about 5th edition, and this includes TikToks. You have TikToks, me, I want to say I'm forgetting her name right now, so I'm just gonna say the female player, and the gentleman who like extremely irregularly could show up. I think everyone's new to the rules. So that's 3 players and the DM. Only 1 player seemed to be like familiar with the rules. Like what would end up happening is if we did something wrong, someone in chat would point it out. Then I would have to go look up what he was talking about to see if like there was some veracity to the statement and be like, oh, we're doing this wrong. I'm not saying that whoever is playing needs to be someone who knows the rules. What I am saying is we definitely need someone to be there regularly so that they are also learning the rules with us. Because it doesn't do a lick of good if we have 6 people, only 3 people regularly show up, those 3 people know the rules, and then for 2 weeks those 3 people don't show up and it's the other 3 people and they spend their time arguing the rules. That makes sense. Everyone generally kind of needs to be relatively close in terms of rules. When you have like someone who's new, you have 5 people, so you have like the DM, or 3 people. You would 3 people plus a new guy. The DM could be doing things like talking to the 2 people who know, and then the 3rd person who knows kind of helps the person who doesn't know, if that makes sense. And the DM helps. You know what I'm saying? You don't like, but if the entire group doesn't know, that slowly drags it down. So we were picking up in the later sessions because we were getting the hang of the rules and things were making sense. And then if you keep swapping in new and new people, it slows it down. So really what it comes down to is you need consistency. And we were not going to be able to guarantee consistency at this time, and or because he said he's been looking for people for a bit. If you have the available time, throw your hat in the ring. I'm not saying don't do it, but if your thing is I would like to try it once, while TikToks can DM that, you need to make sure with TikToks that TikToks is DMing that way again, so that he's ready. What is going on with this one tile? As an Axel. Go away, Axel. Weird Axel. Grogrin, welcome to the stream. And the rest of you whose names I don't quite know, I would call out some of you, except for if you've never talked or chatted, then I don't know if you are in fact a bot or not. So I'm not completely crazy. I don't address all the new names. But if you're a name of someone that I know is a person, hello. Hello. Sent by greeting. I was even doing one of the playlists I was doing on YouTube was a breakdown of Pathfinder 2. I haven't shown that series as much love as I should because I kind of fell behind on it and then they did an update. So I do need to show that series some more love. More of the love. But part of that was so that I could also be learning the rules. Hold on, something's wrong here. Damn it. And as I was reading, things would annoy me. I kept losing my objectivity. There are a few points in some of my videos where I would accidentally cause not an argument, but a disagreement in the chat because I lost my objectivity discussing the rules, and I didn't want to come off as too cynical. I don't want to come off as too cynical about the rules. But no, they did some rules in Pathfinder 2 that are weird. Some of them are just weird. And then sometimes I would have someone argue with me, but they would argue the same point I had argued in the video. So they wanted to have a disagreement, debate, and or argument, but we were already both on the same side of the argument. So I wasn't really sure how to respond to them. So in order to do those videos requires about 2 hours of talking. Requires 2 hours of talking to the camera to end up doing the Pathfinder 2 videos. Because the funny thing about the Pathfinder 2 videos is if you watch any of them, particularly any of the ones that aren't the first two, they're all done in one take. So if I get to the end of a video and I realize I've somehow made it, I read it 2 or 3 times before I do a video on it, but for some reason saying it out loud tends to make me realize I've been misreading something. I've deleted over 6 hours, 6 to 9 hours of videos. So I'll get to the end of an hour and a half long video and realize I've been reading something wrong the entire time. And this entire video is now wrong. Deleted. And after you do that for an hour and a half and then just delete it to the ether, well, I guess I'm not doing a Pathfinder video this week. The Dwarf Fortress and Thea, I can at least Thea video is 30 minutes of talking. A lot of the time that goes into a Thea 2 video is editing the event to make it presentable. But it's just a 30-minute thing. But after 2 hours of talking, particularly the one day I did it twice and then had to delete it both times, 4 hours of talking. I know it sounds bonkers. I'm doing 8 hours of talking on this, but I'm thinking up the thing to say as I'm doing it. After the 4th hour of saying the exact same thing you've already said, yo, you just start blanking out. You start getting tongue-tied and you just start stumbling over your words because you remembered how you said it that first time and it was so correct the first time. Why didn't you say it this way this time? Don't forget to talk about the thing. Shit, I wasn't supposed to talk about the thing yet. We're 20 minutes early. After hours of talking about the exact same thing, you especially with like no guidance, you start to lose the train. Like that shit leaves the fucking station and it's gone and it ain't coming back. I'm gonna tell you the truth right now. I don't know what got me started talking about that. Oh, D&D 5e, that's what it was. I occasionally accidentally in my Pathfinder 2 videos sound a bit critical. That was the thought process that led to that. I try to not be. I really do. At some point, the rule book just agitates you. I was right about one thing though, one or two things. I gotta look it up again. They released an errata on the rule book. I had someone arguing about this. Like, I'm not going to do an internet argument. I'm not going to sit there, track this man down and be like, neener, you're dumb and I'm not. But in one of my videos, I'm forgetting the exact point right now, but in one of my videos, someone disagreed with me, said I read something wrong, and that's not how that works. And the Paizo had to release an errata saying, we accidentally said that this is exactly how strategists said it works. We meant for it to work this other way. Like, I had read the rule right. Someone said I was wrong, and I issued a redaction, but then Paizo had to issue a redaction because that was the way the rule worked, the way they wrote it. So I'm not crazy. I don't know why. More people argue about Paizo rulings, about freaking how a rule works in Pathfinder than they will about Thea or Dwarf Fortress, or how economics works in a class. More people will disagree with the smallest things in Pathfinder, how a rule black and white is written in front of you, than they will about anything else. I don't know why. It takes a lot of time to do those videos. So, what are your stories? What are your stories about something that takes probably a little too long for what you get for the end result? I can't be the only one. Other people must suffer as I do. For those of you who are new, I don't know if you're new to the channel or new to the stream, we are doing a gigantic 3-dimensional Triforce base, but down below we are wasting / losing a bunch of time as we have count them, 2 Z layers of aquifers to get through, and we're trying to make the inverted triangle of the Triforce go all the way to the hidden fun stuff, and or as low as we could possibly. It's going to stop at the Lava Sea, but as low as we could get it. And we can't get, we can't start it up in earnest until we get through the freaking aquifers. And that is what's taking our time down here. Up top, admittedly, I pay attention to it less than I should. We're building up the wall so that we have a 3-dimensional Triforce. I played a card combo in Magic the Gathering on a draft night, and the guy I was playing against said it didn't play that way. They changed the rules on that card. What? What? What do you mean they changed the rules on that card? That's where the card says it plays. That's why the fucking card says it plays. What card was it? What? That literally hurts my brain. If the card says it does something, the card says it does something. What is the point of having a card if it doesn't say what it does? Didn't play it that way. They changed the rules on the card. Yeah, see, this... I used to do Magic. I stopped doing it. Called for a judge. I looked up and no rules posted, so my combo. Oh, so that dude's just fucking crazy. The fuck is he talking about? But I used to do Magic, and then I stopped. Mostly for shit like that. It cost way too much money to be constant with the new versions of the game. And then, you know, assuming they didn't just get rid of the fucking cards, everyone was always such a rules lawyer about the stupidest shit. Even if you proved you were right to their face, they would then just go, well, and they would choose another card, and they would waste more time of your life for no reason. Finally got to a point where it dawned on me that I think I was wasting more time arguing rules in Magic than playing Magic. At that point, I stopped playing. Was right. He tried to break my deck by bullshit. Yeah, no. See, same thing happens in freaking the tabletop version of Warhammer. Oh, the new rulebook says that it doesn't work that way. What? I have the rulebook right here. What page? What are you talking about? Yeah, you can't do that. Why can't I? Because it doesn't say you can. Where does it say I can't? It doesn't. Okay, dude, go fuck yourself. So I turned 3, I swung with 5/9/9 flyers. Nice. I do love curb stomping some people. There was a game. Me, TikToks, and Shadow Fox did against 3 of TikTok's friends. We were told, because we had cards from way back the beginning. Way back the beginning. They were like, oh, we want to do our best decks versus your best decks or something like that. And we're like, all right, our best decks? Like from all the cards or whatever? And they're like, yeah. And we're like, okay. Me, TikToks, and Shadow Fox all had decks that would end up with an infinite turn. Would end up with some engine, some method of, if X happens by this point, I can do unlimited damage. I can heal unlimited health. I can do this. I can have unlimited turns, so on and so forth. Of the 3, admittedly, mine was the slowest because mine was the funniest. I'm just saying. TikToks had a red, blue, is it Guild Mage deck that could do unlimited damage and draw unlimited cards, I think. Or no. Unlimited mana, unlimited damage? I forget what it was. Shadow Fox had a sliver deck, so slivers. And I had a machine deck that spanned the entirety of whatever machines have existed, including turning everything on the field into machines and then getting rid of all of your machines. Because that was a card from like when machines were first released and machines weren't that big. Like fucking everything. I always thought mine was funniest because mine just had stupid shit. I'd be like, oh, I have unlimited turns now. I win. Like it will be my turn unlimited times. So we proceeded to curb stomp them just into the ever-loving ground. It was they should have called for police. It was a bloodbath. Oh, it was awful. It was a bloodbath. One of them needed to stop playing one of his decks. He fucking needed to. His deck revolved around a Bird of Paradise, one of the opponent's decks. But he didn't want to buy a Bird of Paradise, so he got the cheap man's Bird of Paradise, which, follow me now, is a gem sliver, a gem hide sliver, which means any sliver can tap for mana. So this dude had a bunch of gem hide slivers, so he just kept giving Shadow Fox gem hides way early. So he had all the mana. So there were quite a few games he won because the dude gave him mana early. There was a game or two where TikToks won, and he was like the first and second one to win, but like the enemy team didn't understand. So he'd be like, okay, I do this. All right, I have this, and unlimited damage to everyone. It's a good game. And they're sitting there like, oh, okay. So what, like 19, 20? And he's like, no, unlimited. We'll go with 2 billion. You have an unlimited combo? And they're like, no. He's like, all right, so 2 billion damage. And they're like, well, you don't have 2 billion mana or cards. What do you like? Literally, they couldn't wrap their mind around the idea of having a combo that does not end except for where you, the player, want it to end. They couldn't wrap their mind around this concept. Hey, Steven. They couldn't wrap their mind around this concept. And this was like the first game in. At that point, me, Shadow Fox, and TikTok just kind of glanced at each other, and we all knew. We all knew from that point going forward, we had won because all of our decks were based around like the first one to pull off their combo wins. Once the combo is in place, if you have not countered the combo, they have won. That was what all of our decks were. We played our deck against each other. This was mandatory. The first one to pull off their combo won. The only time I would ever win, because mine was the slowest combo, the only time mine would ever fucking win would be if they had extremely bad starts. That's why most of my shit was just funny, stupid ways to win. Because like they could get unlimited combo by turn 3 and turn 4, mine required turn 6. So as soon as it dawned on us that the opponents didn't have the concept of an unlimited combo, that meant their decks didn't have unlimited combos. So they were going to try to find a way to do 20 damage to us. So we knew we won. So we kept playing. Oh no, kid died this time. So, I mean, we kept playing them and we just kept beating them. We just kept beating them and it was pretty fucking embarrassing. But I'm not going to forget this at the end. They complained. They were like, oh, well, your decks aren't like currently legal or something. And we were like, yeah, you said our best decks and we said from any of our cards and you agreed. What did you think that meant? So they got huffy. We never played with them again. We never played with him. Maybe TikTok did because he was from their school, but they never wanted to play all three of us again. That possible gigantic group friendship just fucking shattered. They never wanted to play us again. They just huffed and left. I was like, well, okay then. I don't know what you want. Literally, they had no clue what they were doing with their decks. Their decks weren't even that good for not infinite combos. The only one who had a decent deck was a dude who fucking had the gym hide. And he had a decent deck. It would have been perfect. He might have had a fighting chance if he had actual Birds of Paradise and not gym hides. But he wanted to go for the cheap man and he got gym hides. Which, by the way, the dude had a fucking gym hide. Now that I think about it, was Jim Hyde even current in that game? The fuck? Why are they bitching about our decks? He had a fucking... I need to go back in time and yell at those people. Hey, Steven. Deck fight. Paper peeing contest. Yes. Chaos Orb landed on your library. I passed the turn. Best win. Well, no, it's like I said, it was sore losers. It was me, Shadow, and TikToks versus 3 kids TikToks knew from his college. But yeah, no, we curb stomped them. Then afterwards, they were like, oh, well, you know, yours weren't legal. Well, of course not. Why would they be legal? What are you talking about? I'm not growing by enough. This is actually wrong. Down here, this is a wrong count. 2, 2, and it's supposed to have looked like it expanded. That doesn't look like it expanded. It looks like it's the same number, doesn't it? It's only 3 visible. It needs to go out by 1 on either side. Hold on. We're gonna go to our Judge Great Armok Vision and have Armok Vision tell us if it looks like the pyramid's getting bigger. Because I just realized my math was going to be wrong. I need to go up by 2 on either side for every step it needs to go up. Otherwise, it'll just look like it's going straight. Because let's load up Armok. Sometimes you just need that 3-dimensional view. Why would infinite anything be legal? Well, actually, it is. So what they're talking about is, I mean, have you done Magic? I don't want to describe this and it's like, I know what the hell he's talking about. Why is he fucking being patronizing? Have you played Magic? Have you been in tournaments? Do you know Magic rules? First of all. Yeah, it's a form of win condition. So what they are talking about Because I don't know how long it's going to take you to end. No, okay. What they're talking about is in Magic the Gathering, like a couple of trading card games, in order to get the most money out of you in tournaments, you can only play with what's called current legal, which basically means that it has to have been one of the last 3 sets of cards they've released. About twice a year, they release a new major set. This is the Kamigawa set. This is the 2019 core set. So in a tournament, to be tournament legal, you have to play with the current cards. That's the current meta. This is what they were bitching about, is that we weren't playing with current cards within the last 3 seasons. Even within a season, though, it is way more than possible to find a combo that can go infinite. So no, that did go 1 to 3. All right, I'm just crazy. It's gonna be hard to tell diagonally, though. This one went 3 to 5. Okay, I'm crazy. That does look right. So an infinite system is in fact entirely possible. Now, an infinite system is something along the lines of, let me remove this because I fucked this up entirely. One of my systems on my mech deck is there's a dude who can tap himself. He says, I can't attack, I can't do anything, I'm using my once a turn ability. And his ability says, or essentially once a turn because he's tapped. He does his ability, says, I untap every other Mer creature. He's like the Mer Worklord or Mer Overseer, whatever the hell his name was. You tap him, you untap all other Mers. Now, if you have 3 Mers, 3 Mer Overseers, they can keep untapping each other. I don't think that's how the card works, but for a dumbed down example, let's say this is possible. Even if this is not how that card worked, for a dumbed down example, let's say this is possible. I have 3 guys that each say they untap all other Mer. All right, so they can untap each other. They have an endless cycle of untapping each other. Now, I have another Mer that says, if I tap this Mer, I deal you 1 damage. All of the 3 dudes untap him as well. So for 1 full cycle of them circle jerking each other, I get to deal you 3 damage. I then declare I deal you 2 billion damage because I now have an unlimited circle of damage coming your way. That is an unlimited combo. A lot of times, if you're going to have someone who does something off of damage because they want to guarantee they kill you, they're going to try to go for an unlimited combo. It's an obtuse, we'll say, win condition, but if you have a deck that can pull it off, it tends to be the easiest because I could do 20 damage to you, and or you could heal during that time. So that might be an issue. If I set my deck up to guarantee 20 damage and you heal for 15, well, I didn't do 20, did I? I could try to deck you out, which means make you lose your entire deck, but it is possible for you to get cards from your discard and other ways to put in your deck, so that might not work. An unlimited cycle, though, unless you have an unlimited cycle on your own, I deal unlimited damage to you. I heal myself for unlimited health. I get rid of unlimited amount of your cards. Unless you have some way to counter this infinite, then I've won. Hey, Terminator 1106. Welcome to stream. So, particularly if you're going to have people who do decks like we did, you're going to have like all-star decks where you can draw from every card imaginable as long as you're willing to buy them, because we didn't have any proxies. We didn't have proxy cards. We had the cards. Then it really, like, that's what we all thought was we thought it was an all-star battle. Like, all right, strongest deck you can make. Let's do this. That kind of inherently means the only way you're going to win is an infinite combo. The person who can infinite combo the fastest wins. We said, any of our cards, we were just best card deck we can make. They were like, yes. So, per the rules of unlimited combat, that meant we could draw from any fucking series. They didn't say anything in the middle of it. They waited till we fucking curb stomped them into the ground, and then afterwards they're like, yeah, but, you didn't use current legal current decks or whatever. And it's like, well, of course we didn't. We wanted to win. How the fuck would we limit ourselves to the last 3 sets when we could, when the thing was to make the best deck? No. But what I'm talking about, and my made up example here, is you have guy A, guy B, and guy C. These guys all say they untap people, and I have guy D. Guy D taps, deals you damage. Guy A taps to untap everyone else. Untaps him, I tap him again to do you damage. Guy B taps to untap everyone else. He taps to do damage. Guy C taps to untap everyone else. He then taps to do your damage. Guy A taps, so on and so forth. Again, this is a slightly, I don't think there's one that simple. That was the shortest example I could think of. Because, yeah, it's a tap ability. Because no, that's just the way it works in Magic. It's goofy. They have a lot of abilities that are just tap. Or even worse yet, if you could find some way for it to generate mana. Because I think part of my system was Blink Moth Well? Or is that the wrong Blink Moth? I had one that for like 2 mana could untap and refresh every card that I had for like 2 mana or some stupid nonsense. Or maybe it was 5. Either way. So I just had to have it set up so I could generate per tapping 6 mana. If I could generate 6 mana and then pay 5 to get them back, I have a net surplus of 1 mana. If I have a dude that costs 2 mana to do 1 damage, unlimited tapping and untapping to generate unlimited amounts of 2 mana sequences to generate unlimited damage. Like I said, mine was the most complicated and the stupid. I want to make this clear. My systems were the dumbest. Shadow Fox and TikToks were the ones that were simple. I do this to do that, that hurts you. By doing that, this happens, I do this, I do that, I hurt you. Because that happened, this happens, I hurt you. Like, they had really simple ones, and some of theirs were like so effing fast. Whereas mine was just like, I want to embarrass you when I beat you. That's literally what all mine was I wish for you to feel embarrassed. I wish for you to feel the damage and know you done goofed. See, this looks like it gets bigger. This one doesn't. Now before, at a diagonal, I could only see 1. This one I can see 3. Up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This needs to be a wall. And that's how that would work. Problem is, I'm looking at it from top down, and that's not going to have a right count. I need to be thinking about what it looks like from the side. This is Magic the Gathering, BT dubs. Who is it? Cyrillac? Who is it that brought up a deck? Someone was bitching about their deck. Someone brought it up. Yeah, it was Cyrillac. Someone was bitching about his deck, and then I was talking about the type of players who complain about it. Did I ever shut us down for 10 o'clock? It's almost 11 o'clock. Hold on. Bye, YouTube.